like this. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, folks. So let's go ahead and get started. So you guys should all have a packet in front of you. As always, definitely print it out so that those harder to see numbers here in a little bit. And you guys are and should be all if you have the magazine on your phone, where that's going to come in handy is because we have the consumer version, right? And I'll show you guys here in a second, where when we get to the marketing strategy, how to access the consumer version. So we'll get that to happen here shortly. So let's go ahead and dive into the numbers. So here. So here is what we are working with as of right now. Active listings. So we're going to make class a little interactive today. So what does it say for active listing? Are we up or are we down?
Green.
Green, exactly, right? Not much though, right? Just 1.39%. But yes, we have more inventory at the end of November, beginning of December than we did at the end of October, beginning of November, right? 1%, couple hundred, a few hundred, okay? Now, that being said, what are you seeing otherwise though?
New listings are down.
Yeah, dramatically, right? 18% new listings came to the market than compared to the month before. So, and I know probably not the most fun to have to admit or talk about, but the reality is what? Yeah,
we losing listings.
Yeah,
that means being delisted.
They are. No, here's what's happening. Less people are coming to the market for inventory to stay up. What happens is all the previous ones that came on the market, we had left home selling. Sales are just down, right? We're going to talk about sales, as it relates to the greater Phoenix area. But if you have at all seen or paid attention to what's going on out there, if you've seen it on social media, but NAR finally said, hey, 2024 is gearing up to be the lowest residential real estate sales in 31 years since 1993. 24. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm already ready to get out of 24. Oh, okay. Yeah. 24. No, 24 is going to, because we don't have December yet. So technically, right. So as of November, the end of November, assuming trends for December, 2024 will be the lowest year in residential sales since 1993. 31 years. And when we talk about what that looks like from a sorry guys, we got some people jumping in on Zoom, so I'm just letting them in real quick. So when we talk about that, right, let's digest that. Like, who here has been in the Valley since 93?
Yep.
Okay. Do you guys remember what this place looked like back in 93? Yes.
Up here?
Period.
Oh, yeah. There's nothing above Bell Road, really.
No.
Not much, anyway.
I remember, that was before I was in high school, and I still remember in high school, we still didn't have the freeway to get out to Red Mountain from Ahwatukee, right? To go play Red Mountain High School, right? Just to put that into perspective. And what I knew of out here was very little. My family lived out here, but I didn't necessarily grow up out this way in like the Peoria area. What I do know is that when you think about what was 30 years ago, right? Just us as a city, and that's true across the country, right? Man, like talk about the sales. We have so much more population. We have so much more going on. We have so much more job relocation, right? Especially and yet sales are down. And so that's what's not helping, but is keeping up inventory right now as we speak, right?
When you say low sales, we're talking strictly numbers, not percentages
Units.
of any closed deal.
Closed deal. Not a percentage, straight up units. There'll be less units closed for residential real estate this year And the last time it was this low was back in 1993.
That actually even more dramatic than what it sounds, just because there's so many more houses.
So many more houses, so much more population, you know, like by the way, maybe I should have done this, but if anybody wants to pull out their phone and Google it, like the difference in population in the United States between 93 and today, right? You know, so yeah, like when the percentage of people buying or selling real estate is probably dramatically worse than in 93, even if it matches those units, right? So here's what I want to say to you. I was really, you know, one of our team leaders was recanting some recruiting calls, you know, and they're like, you know, I just made my opening line. Hey, I'm giving you a call. If you're still in real estate, congratulations, because you just made it through the 2 hardest years of real estate. So those of you sitting here, you guys on Zoom, congratulations. It's 2 years that have dramatically sucked. And so, you know, when we're looking at this, give yourself some grace. If you look up and you're like, man, what's going on? Like I didn't hit my goals, or I was just short, or whatever that language or mindset is about how you feel about your real estate business, if it's a little bit in the dumps or a little negative, give yourself some grace, because it was hard for all of us. The industry was difficult. Okay. So yes, so we see that new listings are down compared to the month before, while listings are rise. So we're going to take a look at that. So all right, you can go ahead and you guys can flip the page if you got the packet in front of you. And so let's talk about a few facts that there are to discuss. Okay. So Christy and Laura, just super quick, if you guys can either take a screenshot or pull out your phone, just because I don't want to get too hung up, but here is the QR code or the URL that you can type into your computer or phone, so that you guys can have the copy of the magazine for after the meeting is over.
You rock. Thank you.
You got it. Not a problem, Laura. And we do have your guys, we can hear you over the TV. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to speak up or any of that good stuff. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to change it out in 5 seconds. So screenshot or whip out your phone, take a picture so that you have that in your phone indefinitely. So 3, 2, 1. 500 million.
2.2 million. In the Phoenix metro.
Yeah. So can we just take a moment, you know, RIP our bank accounts, that we have the same amount of real estate transactions that happened all the way back in 1993 was the last time that we saw this low of a number, but the United States has double the population. Crazy, right? So let's now take a look at that. And so how do we optimistically look up and look forward? So let's keep talking about this. So here's some 4 facts. Okay. So here's what is crazy. When we look at our most successful agents or teams out there, you have to adapt with the times. Back in the last time we had this much, these many listings, we were all the way back in like 2015 and 2014. If you remember from last month's market update, I did share that back then we had a completely different like genetic makeup of our MLS. And what I mean by that is, does anybody remember what I said last month as to what made up like 2014, like what the MLS was made up of primarily? Yeah, Brad remembers. Right? It was, and very more specifically, there was REO, there were short sales. So what we categorize those as distressed properties, right? So I had just started 2 years before that, and I remember like I didn't know any different. It was just normal that 70 to 75% of our MLS back then in 2014 was made up of distressed properties. Does anybody remember or know what that percentage is right now in our MLS?
Very low.
Very,
It's like
yeah.
10%. Yeah.
Yeah, it is 0.7%. Right? So we have a tremendous amount of inventory with traditional buyers who can make the decision whether they're willing to take the haircut on their property or not. The difference with back then is that we had a ton of listings, but a seller could decide if they wanted to take the haircut, meaning like, hey, I don't know, like I'm not making any money on this property anyway, so sure, offer me 100,000 over. Let's get it under contract and over to the bank, right? You would sit there for 6 months in queue, while they were dealing with all the other short sales, and the banks would eventually come around and be like, are you crazy? Like, we're not letting it go for this, right? And so really we had a lot, you can call them like fake or ghost listings that were really never going to go somewhere. And now we have a bunch of traditional buyers on the market here in Phoenix that you have the choice. So those of you that have been in real estate since 2020 or 21, and you got to experience that like golden era for us, where it was like, if you had a heartbeat and a license, you were going to sell a property that year, right? And if you guys remember, right? I know it happened to Courtney on her very first listing ever, right? She put it on the market, and first listing ever as a real estate agent, and 80,000 over asking, and there were no other offers on the property yet. Right? Like there was just this, like it just felt like you were in this dream of like, holy crap, if I can just get somebody to sign a listing agreement, we're going to sell this thing for buku dollars, right? What I'm imploring you guys to understand is that while right now things can feel a little bit down in the dumps and stuff, agents that are finding a lot of success right now are embracing those buyers, right? If somebody's willing to buy a home, like you got to be able to have a conversation that says, hey, like we have 35% more listings than we even did last year. And like we got a whole bunch of people who can make the decision if they're willing to take the haircut themselves and get this deal done. And so those 50, 35, 50, $100,000 over asking offers that we were putting in a couple of years ago, we're just doing the opposite now. We're going and asking for 25, 35, 50,000 off, you know, and oh, by the way, there may even be some concessions we're adding on them. Now, understand, I'm not saying that's every segment, every intersection, every neighborhood, right? There are still some neighborhoods that are living in an anomaly where it's like, hey, there's only one of these that come up, you know, every year. And, you know, but when we're talking about your traditional tract home neighborhood where there's plenty to pick from, right? We have a listing on the market right now that, you know, we've already had the real talk. We go, you know, they're like, all right, like we're gonna have to take it off come January. And in my brain, like we're not going under contract before January. I already know we're not, right? We're one of 18 listings in the neighborhood, right? So unfortunately, there's going to be some pockets where it's like, hey, like this isn't the right time. Like either suck it up till maybe springtime and we get lucky because we see a little bit of a dip in interest rates, or we don't see that dip and maybe you're better off, you know, going and renting the property, you know, here for the next year potentially. But a year is a long time. A lot can happen in a year, as we've seen, right? So here we are a year later with a lot more inventory, interest rates at 7%, affordability still, you know, difficult. So it's very difficult to try to anticipate how to guide a seller right now, you know, so we have to be understanding about that. At the same time, a lot of their values are these inflated numbers from what was caused in 20 and 21, because what hasn't happened? Prices technically have not dropped. We're still seeing similar price per square foot, right? What we're seeing is people getting tired of paying the price for 20 and 21 is really kind of the best way to look at it. You know, you're like, yeah, your house is worth that technically on paper based on comparables, but like those comparables are based on like some craziness that happened in 2021, right? So be understanding of that. The other conversation, you guys might remember about 2 or 3 market updates ago, I kind of was giving realtor.com a hard time because they were using some unfair numbers to justify that like rents, it was, you know, cheaper to rent than to buy. So know that that debate is going to continue until affordability happens. Either, you know, and net prices start coming down and we lower rates, or rates go down so low that it doesn't matter what the price of the home is, like we experienced back in 20 and 21. Now, what we're really realizing is that we have to get really well versed, right? I always give credit to I always give credit to where credit is due, and new builders are very on top of understanding what's happening with the market, right? And they like, if they go, hey, affordability sucks right now, they're like, it won't take but like 24 hours and a banner is made saying, hey, we're offering 2.99% interest you know what I mean? And like hang that out in the neighborhood. So they stay out in front of it like really well. And so are you using the same tools, right? What's really difficult is they have inventory to move, right? Like for them, it's a numbers game from a unit perspective. When we represent a single seller, we are what? Like that there you go, hey, this could be like my life savings that I'm like, you know, if I give away 50,000, like like, that's 50,000 of retirement, or that's 50,000 of this. And so it's really difficult to be able to have a conversation with a seller and go like, hey, to kind of compete and tee up, like we got to give concessions and get ready to come off the price. And man, let's keep our fingers crossed that their agent's well versed enough to communicate that there's like 2-1 buy down programs out there. So I want to take a moment and say, are you talking to your buyer that way, right? If you're out in the car with someone showing properties, and pause for the luxury market, talking about your more traditional, average sales price of a home in our market. Like, are you going, hey, like, you know what? I think we can go get a seller to pay some concessions, and yeah, like, let's get you your rate. You know what? The 6.68 that we're seeing today, like, that'll be the highest it ever goes. But would it be pretty cool if it was like 4.6 this next 12 months, right? And then 5.6 the next month. And I'm speaking generalities here. I'm sure there's really talented people that are doing that. But if I had to guess, right, based on my experience across 4 market centers, that as a whole, I don't know if we're really communicating that. We're just like, oh, great, somebody's willing to work with me. And we take them out, we put them in the car, and they're freaking out about affordability, but they're not having that conversation with you, or that conversation is not being brought up, right? And that's going to continue this rent versus buy debate. Concessions dropped a little bit last month. We touched on it just a little bit, that it dropped like $50, like 9,950, but it bounced back to 10,000, and then luxury markets are holding stronger. They're getting buoyed by the gains in the crypto market and the stock market. So anybody that was holding here this last like 2-3 weeks, you probably had a little bit of a smile on your face. So, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to see when we get into the hyper, focused areas, that luxury just didn't get beat up so much. Now, I will say that not as crazy over here. You're not going to find it in this packet for Northeast and professional partners, but for Sonoran Living, I talk about the East Valley and the Northeast Valley and Scottsdale area. And so I'll share that with you guys a little bit of what was happening in the Scottsdale area, because it's pretty impressive. So what the heck is going on? So inventory is stabilizing, right? We have the holidays. People are going, all right, guess what? I'm going to hit the pause button because nothing that great is going on, primarily because they're talking about interest rates, right? Their lender isn't calling them being like, guess what? Your payment just went down $250 because it hasn't, right? Once we went down in August to low 6s, and then, circle around the middle of September, we were back up to 7, and we've been riding, after the Feds called the first rate cut, excuse me, we got back up to 7s, and we kind of been hanging out there and fluctuating between like, I don't want to say 6.5 because that's too low, but we've really been about like 6.6 all the way up to 7, right? So, inventory stabilizing because sales are going down, less people are coming to the market. So that's where we, the holiday, this happens every holiday, right? Less people come to the market. There's nothing not traditional or untraditional about less people waiting and say, hey, I'm just going to wait for after the new year. Let me go focus on my family, the holidays, buying gifts, racking up the credit cards, right? So that part's normal, and sales going down are normal. It's just that, we're really, you can really feel it. But I loved it. Kyle, you walk in here and you're like, yep, I think we're going to get like for some reason, luxury, like I'm hearing a lot of wins. Laura, I wasn't sure if, I didn't know if you were going to be on. I was telling, Kyle, he just got like a 1.6 under contract. I was like, I'm pretty sure Laura told me 1.8. So like luxury is doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So, Cromford report. It was really funny. I remember it being October, and I was putting together the market update. And for the first time that I noticed, I'm not going to say that it's the only time that they talked about it, but Cromford report started saying, hey, let me give you guys another marker to understand that we're headed into a buyer's market. And that marker was contract ratio. Okay. And so the ratio of homes going under contract on the MLS. Okay. So at the time in October, it was at like the score was like 32.5. And they're like, this is another indicator because 30 is like below 30 is the cold zone. If we get below 30, like you definitely know we're in a buyer's market. We are below 30. So we are below 30. We are in a buyer's market. And so why am I sharing that with you guys? That's a good thing if you're representing buyers, right? We have real estate teams across our 4 offices that can still get, 8 to 13, 14 deals under contract in a month, but they are currently buyer heavy, right? They are embracing those buyers. They're taking them out. They're showing them the dream of home ownership. They're helping them understand. They're helping them with 2-1 buy down programs, helping them with down payment assistance programs. So know that, like, I don't ever want you guys to ever feel, especially being an agent at Keller Williams, that we're ever talking out of both sides of our mouth. There's nothing better than having a listing based business, because that means you're in control of your business, your life, your schedule. Right now, don't shy away. If you're like, oh yeah, I don't normally work with buyers, I go, but if they knock on your door, you better be running out and catering to them right now, right? Because they have control of the market right now. Okay. So now this is a tricky one. You guys can see there, it says, there is a pricing downward pressure happening that's building. Well, things are going to happen on the outskirt areas first, work its way in. So if we're curious, rates are going to be the determining factor. If we woke up tomorrow and, like there was a snap of the finger and rates were 5%, we would no longer feel that downward pressure. I mean, homes would start selling like crazy. I really do believe that. I know there are some people that are like, I think it's got to be better than 5, but based on the research that I've been doing, like we believe in Phoenix. I'm talking about Phoenix specifically. 5.5 would get people going. And I think we saw a small blip of that in August when we got to low 6s, that people were like, oh crap, let's go do this. Right. So I think mid 5s, you guys you would want to just be all over your database, all over your pipeline, if you see a number with a 5 in front of it for interest rates. And I think people would definitely make some movement for that. So the outskirt areas are definitely getting their butt whoops. And we're going to talk about that here on the next page momentarily. So, all right. Do you guys have any questions so far on this? Pretty straightforward. Okay. All right. So on this screen right here, you guys have this page in your packet. At the same time, there's another page in your packet. The other guys on Zoom, you'll be following on the screen, or you guys can click this blue box right here. Any blue boxes in the magazine you can click on. It's going to open up something. Not these ones, but the ones over text. So I'm going to switch my screen real quick. And Zoom people, can you confirm for me just real quick? Can you guys see the seller's market, balance market, buyer's market page?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So guys, it's up on the screen yet. This time I had the market centers print this off so that you had it to take home with you and you could review on the go. So you guys can see that Fountain Hills took a tumble, 16% drop. I bring it up because it had been in the #1 major city in a seller's market for since I started doing these market updates. So it just dropped 16%, while Chandler gained 2%, getting it into the #1 spot for a seller's market. Now, remember, we saw numbers as high as like 199 when we were talking about a seller's market, right? And you can even see El Mirage over there on the right. Smaller market, not one of the 17 major cities here in Phoenix Metro, right? And armless. Yet El Mirage, smaller town, but it is currently, for whatever combination of things of inventory, lack of, it's representing a seller's market over 200 score. Right. As a friendly reminder, if the market update's a little bit newer to you, whether Cromford or me, Cromford report says that below 110 is a balanced market. So if you're above a 110, you're in a seller's market. 90 to 110, okay, 90 to 110 is a balanced market, and below 90 is a buyer's market. And so you can see it all color coordinated for you there. We got the darker greens because they're breaking 130 up there to separate them from those like that kind of, hey, we're holding on by a thread seller markets for those next 4, just like Scottsdale, Phoenix, Avondale, and Tempe, right? Tempe just got a 7% gain. So it went from a balanced market back into a very, very, very light seller's market, for example. Now, Paradise Valley, here's the first sign in the first indication that the luxury market had this like crazy little like self impact, like people looking for luxury homes. There was, by the way, here locally, Laura, Kyle, awesome wins there at some high price points right here in our own backyard. You can see Paradise Valley had a 14% increase back towards a seller's market, but it's still in a balanced market because they had gotten low enough, right? So just the first indicator, because Paradise Valley is going to be primarily made up of, our highest end price points, especially, near Mummy Mountain and all that kind of areas. Now, there are also, $400,000 or $500,000 homes over there, but know that Paradise Valley, obviously, I think I would say that all this is real estate agents. You think of PV, you're like, well, luxury homes, right? So, okay. So I'm not going to stay on this as long as I normally do. So highlight, here's where it's at. From a lead generation standpoint, from an appointment standpoint, have a conversation of like, you should be showing your clients this. Where are you looking to buy? All right, we're in the blue zone. We're in the green zone. All right, let me tell you what that means, right? Here's what we might be able to expect. Now, remember, these are cities. I'll give you an example. My clients are looking in Scottsdale. Well, Scottsdale is at a 119 seller's market, but at the same, and seller's market, and yet it's creeping toward the buyer's market. So what should we expect? We should be able to negotiate. We should be able to do XYZ. But guess what? My clients found the one pocket neighborhood that one listing comes up on every year. So everybody's fighting over that listing. Okay. So remember, real estate is hyper local. Yet, if you have somebody that's like, I just want to go shopping in Goodyear, you're going to go, great. In general, Goodyear, here's probably the experience, right? We can probably get a lot, if we go and make an offer and the seller's like, nope, I'm not taking $1 off the purchase price, or, I'm not budging. That's that seller. We could probably go ask 10 more and they'd be like, yes, please take my home. Okay. Right. Okay. So I'm going to exit out of this screen. And one more thing I want to talk about before I'm going to talk about that Greater Phoenix data in a moment. But that next blue box in the magazine is the other page that we have printed off that doesn't match the magazine. And guys on Zoom, this is what I'm referring to. I went ahead and provided this for the first time as well, just so you had a whole bunch of different indicators to take a look at. This is from the Cromford report. It's their concise snapshot. So I do want to highlight that very first one says what? Active listings, right? Do you guys see that 23,800 number on this page? Okay. If you were paying attention, you're going to be like, well, Alex, you said active listings were like 21,000, right? So I do want to clarify, this is like the only thing I really want to clarify on here is if you look 4 boxes down, what does it say? Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, 3 down, excuse me. Yeah, 3 down. So, well, 2 down, I guess, technically. There's active listings and then 2 down below that. Active listings excluding UCB. Sorry, I said 4 down. That's my mistake. So active listings excluding. So that first box had things that are under contract, but they were contingent. So they're still, I call the first box the Zillow number, right? Zillow has 23,000 listings because it still shows those active half of the times, right? So, okay. So know that without under contract accepting backup properties that are technically under contract, the agent says, but it's contingent on the inspection, it's contingent on this or that, right? So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to highlight that, but know that I threw that in there and I'll continue to throw that in there because it just gives some other indicators that you can leverage in conversation with your clients. So now going back to the magazine or the report itself, I do want to highlight that on this page, you guys see it says Greater Phoenix data. So if anybody here is like, Alex, I looked and we had over 5,200 sales that happened in November. Like you say, there's only 4,700. That's because Armless encompasses so many outer areas, right? Like a Sholo agent could use Armless and put a property over there, right? And so Cromford does provide Greater Phoenix data. So what we're looking at here is that in the Greater Phoenix area, we had right now, as it stood when I put this together for us, listings under contract, which include UCB, CCBS, and pending, we had 5,938 listings under contract. You guys can see that that number is 3.45% lower than when this report was done last month. Okay, so makes sense. Less listings are going to be under contract because less people are buying right now during the holiday. And then we had 11% decrease in the greater Phoenix area on sold homes in November compared to October. Okay. Then you guys can see, guess what? Price per square foot was going to go up because, as I've mentioned a couple of times, luxury has had a little bit of a stronger footing this last 30 days. So that increase, please also know it's not, that's a whole armless representation. So like, keep in mind that luxury can impact average, very easily. Yet at the same time, you guys can see the number over a month, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. Like, even from 12 months ago, we still have a $2 increase, right? Like, if you ask me, especially when you talk about averages, and luxury can have a good month, have a bad month, have a good month, have a bad month. Like, looking at that year range there, I'm like, yeah, like, I feel like sometimes I'm delivering like doom and gloom, like a lot of inventory, high interest rate, less sales, but yet price per square foot still continues to like stay steady, which is very interesting. So, okay, so moving on to the next one, these interesting talking points. So this this first talking point, I want you guys to hear me very clearly. I'm never going to pretend I know what I'm talking about if I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not going to like try to sell you guys or that I know it all. At the same time, here's what I do understand. So the bond market yield is really what we really like to pay attention to understand our economy. Okay. So it's been inverted for quite some time. And the longer it's inverted, economists are going to say, recessions on the horizon, recessions on the horizon. And then if it ever disinverts, then it's like, oh yeah, like we're here, recession. And economists, as you can see in that paragraph, are like, the hell is going on? Like, it disinverted and we're definitely not in a recession. So they're confused. So I wish I could tell you, like, I would not blame you for asking me the following question. All right, so like, why? And the answer would be no one knows. No one knows why that the bond yield disinverted. And yet here we are still kind of like, now, here's what's really funny. Or we have a terrible definition of the word recession, right? Like, and depression, like there's a part of me that says, I don't know, like at the same time, we just did some math and you go, the last time we had this number of residential sales in the nation was 1993. And you said the population of the entire United States was half of what it is today. Oh, that was just Phoenix. Yeah. Got it. Phoenix. Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense. What about the United States then? Sorry, I thought, like, I don't know. All I heard was half and thought that was the United States. So Brad's gonna look, but yeah, like for example, the population in Phoenix has doubled, right? And here we are saying like, damn, sales are rough, right? And so I don't know, like maybe this is just our little mini recession. We're just not calling it that. So maybe it is represented. But just know, even economists that do this for a living, day in and day out, are like, okay. So unemployment and wage growth has cooled off, right? We're seeing less of like, raise the minimum wage, right? Now, I do have my own opinion about this that I want to kind of talk about. Like, I believe that 100K and under, like somebody's like, I want to go get a under 100K job. Like, there's options out there, right? Employment's at a 4.1%. I believe that people are out there looking for talent. They just don't want to pay over 6 figures for it. What I have realized, and this is more, the reason I say this is a little bit more opinionated, is I'm going off my friends that I've collected over the years, right? That if we want to use the term, they're a little bit more affluent. They demand a higher paying salary job, right? 130 and more. And one of the things that I think isn't really being talked about enough is that those individuals are having a harder time finding a job. And if you guys remember from 2 market updates ago, they recalculated the number of available jobs, right? And we talked about how like they reported like over the number was like 600 and something, right? And they were like, no, sorry, that was actually like 40-50,000, or it was like 700,000 jobs wrong, right? I think they said like 6 million. It was really like 5.3, right? Like something like that. And that, I really think that was a lot of those higher end positions that multiple job postings, like those were being fibbed about by companies saying, hey, we have these director jobs, these, come, and it was their way to make sure that they made their company look better. And then once they finally like cleaned up and saying, we don't really have that many jobs available, right, is when we saw a correction. And that is when the Fed finally said, oh crap, like there isn't all these jobs, like things aren't okay. Like, that's when they said we got to kick off the Fed rate cut. So again, I wish I could tell you I could go back and look, but I really I'm bringing that up for this reason, is that make sure you're keeping an eye on your friends if you know that they have tended to have like a higher paying job. If you just know that about them, like not saying that you know exactly how much they make, but you're like, oh, I know they make over 6 figures. Like, there could be layoffs happening. There could be departments getting closed as whole. Like the industry, like all industries are feeling what's going on right now out there. So be in tune with your database.
260 million to 336 million.
260 million to 336. So 70.
60, 76 million.
So we grew 50%. The nation grew by 20%. Is that fair to say? Yeah. 25%. Right.
Makes sense. We were always the number one.
We were always, yeah. Makes sense that we were going to outpace the country. But still, there was a 25% growth in population in the entire United States over the last 30 years. And, we're about to wrap up sales that equate to 30 years ago, right? So again, give yourself some grace, just to drive home that point one more time. So, all right, how are we doing? We got 25, perfect. So rent versus buy shift. Okay, I thought I know I already talked about this. What I really want to stress is, look at that. Somebody tell me what that age says. The average age of a first-time home buyer.
38.
38. I'll say it. I just turned 39. That's me, right? I'm like, yeah, like I got my shit figured out by 38. Sure. I read that. That's what like my brain's, I didn't. I got it figured out much sooner than that, right? My point is that then I think about this more than anything, right? Courtney just helped family buy property, right? Like, but her 27-year-old cousin, right, and her boyfriend, and they lived like walking distance from us in Gilbert. Guess where they had to end up buying for affordability reasons? Santan Valley, right? 27.
Hey, nothing's wrong with Santan.
Nothing's wrong with it, but it's 27 minutes door to door. Guess who we won't be seeing on Tuesdays and Thursdays anymore? Right? Like, and I bring that up because, at 27 years old, like, yeah, they like, we have to go find a $400,000 property, and that doesn't exist, and so I think a lot of people are saying they were willing to sacrifice lifestyle for home ownership. Right move, right? I hope all of us as real estate agents says they made the right move, right? Like, yet I think what's driving that up, if you ask me, because when I think about it, just not as a real estate agent, not as somebody that likes to do market updates, I just look at that and I'm like, shit, like you have to sacrifice your lifestyle. Like, and I think that's what's driving that number up, or people are like, I don't want to not be by downtown or the bars or by my friends, or, you know what I mean? Like, that's a whole different lifestyle being out at home, sitting there, because you're, and I hate to say home poor, right? Like that you're just worried about paying the bills and making sure you had enough for the mortgage and all that stuff. But, they're also not trying to drive irresponsibly 27 minutes from where they used to live, right? So there's a lot of decisions and lifestyle that go into that. And so I thought that was a crazy stat that I want to add in there. And then I want to highlight, if you've been to the market updates, that we've talked about concessions almost every month. Also keep in mind with me, if you're like, Alex, that's pretty redundant, that's not anything new. I know, but you know what is new? The next client you're going to meet with, your next listing appointment, your next buyer consultation. So when you go to hand them the newest copy, they should know that this is going on, right? So sometimes I will create something that, even if this is not groundbreaking, if you've been here for the last 3-4 months, concessions have been a thing, yet your clients, you probably didn't hand them the last 3 or 4, and you're going to hand them the next one, so just keep that in mind. I just wanted to highlight that, because I don't want you to feel like you're going crazy, like, wait, we're in concessions already at $10,000, right? So, all right, let's talk about the hyper focused market. So one of the things that ooh, okay, ignore your packet. Sorry guys, what happened? I totally that enjoy if you care or you need it. This, if you are here in office, your packet, this page in front of you, is Sonoran Livings, and I apologize. So that has the East Valley and Northeast Valley up on the screen. So Zoom people, you're good. And the magazine, like on your laptop or your phone, does have the correct numbers. So my apologies. I'm human. So here's what we're looking at. Okay. Up here in the North Valley, so if you guys remember, that's North Phoenix. So Bell Road North and everything up here, okay, including Cave Creek and New River. So it does not include Black Canyon. You guys, I thought this was really interesting. With the exception of 600 to 800, there was actually a decline in active listings available. And why is that interesting? Because Armless as a whole had an increase in active listings. Okay. And here's what's really funny. I think what's maintaining inventory are really the outskirt areas and the areas that we don't really pay attention to for the 4 market centers that I do this for. Because I don't do these statistics for like South Phoenix, Goodyear, Buckeye, right? And ironically, I noticed that there was a trend that North Phoenix, the major like Northeast Valley, so Scottsdale, PV, Grayhawk, Fountain Hills, and East Valley, so Chandler, Gilbert, Queen Creek, Santan. I'm using the same script with all the agents. I'm like, oh, listings are down across different price ranges in all those areas. You go, so where the heck did inventory stay or inflate? And ironically, it's like where we don't have a market center, which is that Goodyear and Buckeye area, So just FYI, obviously we'll take a look at, Peoria and such here in just a moment. So now here's what I do want to highlight. It was actually really impressive that up here, the months of supply declined. So months of supply increased over in the East Valley across pretty much 90% of the price ranges. Okay. Over here, you guys can see that months of supply actually went down for 4 to 500, 5 to 600, 6 to 800. There was actually, and 6 to 800 and 800 to a million, over a 1 month supply decrease compared to the month before. Okay. So that's good news, right? Means less competition, right? Is what months of supply is going to translate to. Now, look at the active days on market. So we got active days on market. What that means is when I did the report last night, I said, what are the cumulative days on market for all active listings currently as it stands? So keep in mind, that's going to include the 33 properties that are at 2 million or higher, right? So those active listings are going to drive up the cumulative days on market. Now, that being said, all those days on market, all 3 of those, are for all price points. But guess what? There were 0 $2 million sales, right? So there wasn't a listing that was $2 million that sold that drive up the overall. So please keep that in mind, right? It's important to get specific to the price range. I just wanted to say, hey, in this area, the average days on market is up to 87, which is up 10 days from, but I did the same activity last month, right? So that included the 31 to 33 $2 million properties last month as well. And so the active days went up 10 more days on average. The under contract went down 5 days actually, right? So up here in this area here by Northeast, everything that was under contract went, so UCB, CCBS, or pending is averaging 67 days, was actually down. It went down 5 days. So that's cool. And then we went up 1 day to 70 days instead of 69 on closed units in November. Okay. So the closed units in October for this area were 69 days on average. It only went up to 70 just 1 day here in November. Now, I do want to share something with you guys. Those of you that have the packet in front of you, you'll be able to see this. East Valley and Northeast Valley. So basically, I'm saying to you east of the 51 when I say that for the most part, right? Those of you with the packet will be able to see this, but if you'll notice, the East Valley and the Northeast Valley, they were well over 60% were sold in 60 days or less. So the kind of smaller bad news that I have for over here and I'm trying to like basically paint a picture in different lights for you guys, but of the properties that successfully sold here in the North Phoenix area, only 56% of them did them in 60 days or less. And I say only because I'm just comparing that to east of the 51 over there, like more 60 to 62%, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was 62% in the East Valley, 60.8% in the Northeast Valley, sold in 60 days or less. And then in 90 days or less over here, 73.66%. So remember that a lot of homes, probably about 30 to 40% of listings are in the UCB or CCBS status before they close. So even if they went under contract in 5 days, but it's a 45-day closing and the agent kept it UCB the whole time, it still adds days. Those 40 days would then, yeah. And pending it doesn't, and that would drive this number down. So what I'm saying to you guys is I think this is good news, is if you go to a listing appointment, I'm guessing every seller that has been asking, well, how long is this going to take? Right. And I think this is pretty cool to go, well, what I can tell you, of all of the homes that have sold this last month, 73% were able to do them in 90 days or less. Now, don't get that confused. That's just of the properties that sold. There are a ton of homes that haven't sold that are not part of that number, right? So don't say that like, yeah, 75% of all homes sold in 90 days or less, because that's not true, because there's all the ones that haven't gone under contract and sold. What I'm trying to tell you is that, hey, if we can totally get you your money in your pocket in 90 days or less if we price it properly and you have great condition, that people are attracted to. Okay. Now, if we take a look at that, so 17.4% of all the transactions up here were cash. Right now, that is actually, this is why this is important. That's low, right? Every other segment that I looked at, 1 out of 5 homes were doing cash. So meaning 20%. And up here, we're only at 17.4%. So cash has not been as big of a conversation up here as the other segments that I've been tracking. And then we had 21 more expired listings or canceled listings than the month before, 129 compared to 108 last month. Now, if we move a little west, get over to your Peoria, Surprise, you guys can see Sun City West, and Glendale. Again, there was an increase in inventory in the first 2 price ranges. The other 3, there was a decrease. So that's what I was referring to, that like, it's got to be like your Goodyear, your Buckeyes, so forth, that we're probably seeing where less homes are selling because of the new homes out there and whatnot. Surprise is probably also getting impacted by that 250-400 range, obviously for the same reasons of new homes. This overall saw an increase in months of supply in that part of the valley compared to here in North Phoenix area, with the exception of your luxury, right? And let me touch on that cash point. I thought this was like super crazy. I told you I would talk about like that Scottsdale PV area. Cash over in the Scottsdale PV, you know, Greyhawk, all that. Cash was 41% of all closings. You're not going to see that in the Northeast packet. You guys are here in the office are seeing it just because I had the wrong page printed. So my apologies. But so that was a 5% increase compared to the month before. So going back to that crypto conversation, people saw Bitcoin make them some money and they're like, let's go buy a home in Scottsdale. It's cash, apparently. So I thought that was pretty interesting to look at that. And so over in the Northwest Valley, 23.3%. So that actually increased 4% as well. So I thought that was interesting. So the Scottsdale PV area, we had a 5.4% increase, and the Northwest Valley had a 3.9% increase in cash transactions. And then you can see that 62.3% sold in 60 days or less over there. 75% did it sold in 90 days or less if it was a successfully closed transactions. And I thought this was interesting. Only segment area of town that I tracked that went down in expireds and canceled. There was 4 less in November than there was in October. Everywhere else had more expired or listings that hit the market compared to the month before. What does that mean? I don't know. It's only 4, it's just by like more successful
people. Real estate.
Yeah, exactly. Brad nailed it. The real estate agents are better. So yeah. All right. So KW, how do we stack up? SKW. Good news. You guys can I'm not gonna bore you and read line by line there. Just for time purposes as well. Here's what you do need to know. We increased our market share, both our 2 offices over here increase in market share, and all of Keller Williams increased market share. We were actually below 10% as all of Keller Williams, and we increased to 10.3. I want to say we were at like 9.7 last month. And so 1.42% market share for professional partners in Northeast combined. Moving down that page, we get into your non-conventional iBuyers and discount brokers. Let me give you a blanket statement. Okay. My goal is never to just sit here and read numbers at you that you can just read yourself, on a printed piece of paper. I track these so that we know that if any of these companies or segments of non-conventional type of brokerages, if we see some kind of influx in sales or listings, so that you guys can look up and go, wait, what the heck? Why is there an increase with Open Door, or why is there an increase with 72 sold? If you guys remember 2 market updates ago, so the October one, 72 sold and Just 990 are just marketing companies. Their brokerage, which had been Hague Partners this entire time, launched their new brokerage, Cydia. If you guys remember, there was a tremendous amount of sales that happened. It was in the 300-400s, and we were like, holy crap. Then the next month, so last month's market update, it was only 110. We're like, that's a big change. And here we now are in the 3rd month, so a whole quarter of looking at them, and they had 109 sales this month as well. So I don't know what the anomaly was that they had 300-400 sales and dropped down to only 109, 110 these last couple of months. So I will continue to track them. But from Redfin to flat fee brokerages and stuff, all in all,
Do you think because September the interest rates were lower, so maybe they were able to hop on it a little bit more, which peaked their October sales?
Maybe, but because we're talking about, there was a 200% decrease. That's weird, right? Interest rate. So yeah, maybe they just had a nice little lucky run, Laura. That's a great question, great point. I don't, it just didn't make sense. Or if maybe the switch over from the brokerages, there was some anomaly that happened, But so all I know, continue to keep an eye on them, see if anything, but you know, I'm sure we all can agree here, less commercials, less on the side of buses, etc. Right? Less $1 million being spent a month. So yeah. All right. This is not in your packets. It is in a digital magazine, but it's not in your packet. So just wanted to share these quick economic developments happening in Phoenix. So Resonance is a company who their whole thing is, you know, tracking and talking about all the different cities in the world. I don't know if you guys know this. I did not know this before putting this together. There are 500 cities worldwide with a population of $1 million people or greater, right? And so Resonance, what they do is they rank the top 100 major cities that have over 1 million in population. And so Phoenix was ranked 89 in the whole world. And for anybody that cares, I didn't put it in there, but if you went to you would see if you went to that link. Tucson was 77. So unfortunately, Tucson beat Phoenix, but and next, Tempe Town Lake. If you've been down on that side of town and driven on the 202, you will know that kind of closer to ASU's like stuff, there's 3 buildings hanging out there by themselves. They got the cranes. If you're driven there at night, the cranes got a red outline on them, but there's 3 buildings. That is the beginning of South Pier. And so we took a look at that, and they have added a new investor, and that next phase is going to be unbelievable if it matches the renderings that you will find at the link there. So if you click that blue box on the digital version, what you will find there is they're going to have 2,300 apartments. So it's going to be primarily lease over there. There are going to be 160 condos for sale when the time comes. 600,000 square feet for like retail space, including restaurants, nightlife, all that. And don't forget, and a Ferris wheel. So
That, what I heard about this morning, they talked about the land where they were talking about the ice rink. They talked about the land where the ice rink was gonna go, and they said that's all housing. And it said it's mostly leased, so it's gonna be like apartments.
no, I don't think it was there. I don't think it was ever going to be right on the lake. No, I don't think so.
That
But
would be a new one.
yeah, because
This
this has been 2 years that this South Pier was going to be South Pier. They
Okay.
just reached this point of actual like buildings, guards. And if you go to that link, it's really cool. The renderings, you can highlight each building and it'll tell you what that building's going to be. So it's all like master planned and everything already. And like you can even like highlight the Ferris wheel and where they're at with the status of that. And so
Another one. It's Tempe too.
yeah. Oh, it's definitely. There's a lot of like, there's surprisingly actually a good amount of land in Tempe in those areas that nobody wanted before, like south of McKellips and north of University. So yeah. So yeah, keep an eye on that. Go check that out. Now this is cool. Northern Peoria, Amcor's $2 billion chip plant will create 2,000 local jobs. So more chip factories coming in. So yeah, more chip factories. So nothing. We're all feeling the interest rate conversation. Just know that the small decline in interest rates to 6.6 did overall boost mortgage applications. By the way, when I talk to agents, like there are people that are being like, yeah, my pipeline feels like it's growing, you know, like things are feeling pretty healthy, you know. So guys, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, like, you know, 6.6, and like it causes even a little movement, enough to like not completely hate your life as an agent movement, right? And so that's why I'm like, dude, we see 5s, like I believe we'll be like, right, like we'll like our jobs again a lot more. So. Okay, now we got a couple minutes left. I will try to go fast through this, but just pay attention with me. I'm going to sit down because I got some clicking to do for you guys here in the office. So number 1, so if you have this up on your phone, that we're now on page 14. It's the marketing strategies. All of these blue boxes go somewhere. So if you've been here before, you're gonna be like, yep, you did this last month. Cool. Let me just show you again, and one more that I added. So before, you used to scan the QR code on the back page. I fixed that. I just made it this box to make it easier for you guys. So if you click this, you'll see that will then take you to the consumer version of this market report. So That way you can grab the URL up here and do as you please with it. Add it to your bio and on Instagram, send it out via email, download it, etc., etc. I don't know why that's taking, that should not take this long. So whatever. Anyway, it's a consumer version that removes the marketing strategies and all that for you to send out to your database. Okay. So ChatGPT, we're best friends. Okay. So as always, right there, it says create a 1 minute weekly like market snapshot. And you guys will see that what I do is I go to ChatGPT, I upload the market update, and then right here in the market update, I tell it like, hey, I need you to create me some statistics and some scripts for the market update. So script 1, script 2, 3, and 4. And these are for you to be able to like read in front of the camera, post it to your stories, make a reel, whatever it is that you want to do, but get some video going. So those are already done for you. Then social media post ideas. Last month I had it going to Canva so that it just took you to all of the templates that are available on Canva. This month I took a different approach and I said, hey, do me a favor, take this market update and make me 10 Instagram post ideas and give me the image recommendations. So there are 10 in here for you guys to just be able to copy and paste. And again, you need to start posting daily, you know, Word, whether you post an image, do video is going to be better, but make sure you're doing that. Now on the back end, YouTube script. If you're not doing YouTube, that's okay. Yet if you're wanting to kick off, I will tell you that even if you just did a monthly YouTube video talking about what we just talked about today would be huge. So you guys can see that I told it to make a YouTube script that's 7 to 10 minutes, and it breaks it down into an intro, market overview, buyer and seller insights, hyper local breakdown, what's next, you know, in 2025 and so forth. This one, weekly email newsletter. So, you know, those of you that were here in office, Brad and I, you know, he's trying to put together a weekly email campaign for our agents, you know, so I love that. Here, my goal is that every market update, you have brand new things to talk about and send out to your database once a week with subject lines, a body, and a call to action. Okay. You can put these into command designs on email templates, then go add them on a smart plan and have it go out like the next 4 weeks until the next one is ready to go, right? And the next market update, and you have this again. So make sure you're leveraging these. This is the newest thing. I went into a heavy conversation with ChatGPT, a lot of back and forth. And at the end of it, we came up with this, but I put it on a Google Doc this time for you guys. But I had it tailor 5 scripts that are based on the market report we just went over. And you're going to see that it's going to help you be ready to handle objections regarding competition, price, the wait until spring mentality, and tackling the fear of slower sales if they hear what's going on out there, right? Of like NAR, of all that. And then highlighting the cost of waiting. So these are scripts that are leveraging the data and being able to have a conversation with your seller to convince them to list with you now instead of waiting. So, okay. And then last but not least, those of you that have not been here before, role play partner. Download ChatGPT on your phone, create an account, then open up this link. It'll open up on your phone. And I had it create a role play partner for you guys that you can leverage. If you've never spoken to ChatGPT through the app, it is literally unbelievable that this thing like talks to you in real life conversation. Like, I mean, you literally feel like you're still like releasing your last breath for your last word, and it's already responding to you. And so you're going to see here, it responded to me. It's like, got it. I'll make a market update, you know, to role play as a seller or a buyer, providing objections and real market conditions. It's like, great. My motivations, I need to relocate due to a job transfer. Opening statement. I understand the market isn't great for sellers right now. With prices dropping and buyers asking for concessions, why would I even consider listing my home when the odds seem stacked against me? And then here are the potential objections that you can mentally prepare yourself for. And then it says that, you know, let me see how you handle this, ask questions, address concerns, and persuade me to, you know, using data from the market update. And you can pick up that conversation from there and role play from your home, couch, office, car, on the way to your listing appointment. So, and remember, go practice these, right? Like go read over these. And then if I were you, that now you can come over here and then pick up the conversation with one of these over here on the role play. So, okay. All right. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Yeah, me too. Me too. Zoom, you guys good?
Yeah, everything's great. Thanks so much, Alex. Have a Merry
You're
Christmas and Happy
welcome.
Holidays.
You're welcome. And I'll put this up one more time if you got in a little bit later on Zoom but there is the picture. Snap that picture with your phone because the URL is up top or after the fact, your smartphones should call out the QR code after you take a picture. So if you need that. And thank you for being here, guys. Appreciate y'all. What's going on, sir? Were you? There. That you can have a copy of that.
I think they changed their name to Short Haven.
Oh.
All the banners on the site now for Short Haven.
South Pier is going to be all of it. Short Haven is just
Just those
one of the like set of buildings. And so yeah.
But
Yep.
it's supposed to, from my understanding, they're building another, could be 8 buildings in total.
It's going to be like 8 buildings, nightlife, restaurants, and there's going to be the Ferris wheel close off the water on the pier itself. Yep. Which will be cool. Very, very, very cool. So, all right, cool. You want to snap a picture of that before I knock it down? So you did already. Okay, perfect. All right.
So if I have a weekly